The latest developments in The Young and the Restless have thrown the Abbott mansion into turmoil once again, this time blurring the lines between friendship and rivalry, loyalty and deception, and perhaps most dangerously, between strategy and self-destruction. For Billy Abbott, the sight of Victor Newman standing in the middle of the Abbott living room was like witnessing a natural law of Genoa City being shattered. The Abbott estate had long been a sacred space, a symbol of pride, pain, and family legacy, and Victor Newman was never meant to cross its threshold. His presence there was not just unexpected, it was almost sacrilegious. For decades, Victor and the Abbotts have waged wars over love, business, and family, and every battle left scars that never quite healed. So when Billy stepped into that familiar room and saw the man he loathed standing under the chandelier, he knew that something seismic was unfolding, something that could shift the balance of power in Genoa City forever. For years, Billy's relationship with Jill Abbott has been strained by differences that reach far beyond the boundaries of business. Jill, the ever-calculating matriarch, has always tried to shape Billy into the kind of man who could handle both the corporate boardroom and the battlefield of family politics. But her ambitions, often cloaked in the language of love, have also driven Billy into rebellion time and again. The wounds from their arguments, their broken trust, and their divided loyalties over Chancellor Industries have never fully healed. Jill's connection to Cain Ashby only made matters worse. To Billy, Cain is the embodiment of everything that went wrong at Chancellor, deceit dressed as diplomacy, ambition disguised as virtue. Yet even as Billy tried to distance himself, the ghost of Chancellor Industries continued to haunt him, binding him to Jill in a web of unfinished business. And now, with Victor Newman's sudden involvement, that web has become a battlefield. Victor rarely steps onto enemy territory unless there's something to gain, and in this case, his goal is clear. The mustache doesn't make alliances out of goodwill, he makes them out of necessity. His partnership with Jack Abbott, the very man he's spent years destroying, is nothing more than a calculated maneuver. To Victor, Jack's idea of collaboration is useful only insofar as it serves a larger agenda, dismantling Cain Ashby's fragile empire and reclaiming power in the Chancellor orbit. Victor sees an opportunity in chaos, and he's never been one to let such an opportunity go to waste. When Billy walked in on Victor and Jack in quiet discussion, it wasn't the sight of two businessmen negotiating that disturbed him. It was the realization that his brother, Jack, the heart and conscience of the Abbott family, was once again allowing himself to believe that Victor could ever be trusted. Jack's optimism, his belief in reconciliation and logic, has often been both his greatest strength and his greatest flaw. Over the years, he has extended olive branches that turned into nooses and entered alliances that ended in betrayal. Yet somehow, he always convinces himself that this time will be different. For Billy, however, there are no illusions. He knows Victor's history, his methods, and the cost of letting him inside. Victor's strategy is as old as his empire, divide and conquer. It's a philosophy he's applied not only to business rivals but to families, friendships, and even his own children. Now, he intends to use that same formula against the Abbotts and Chancellor alike. Billy can see the play unfolding before his eyes. Victor will manipulate Jack's good intentions, exploit Jill's complicated relationship with Cain, and position himself as the silent puppet master pulling the strings from the shadows. And when the dust settles, Newman Enterprises will once again stand taller than its rivals, leaving Jack and Billy to pick up the pieces of their family's pride. But even as Billy's instincts scream at him to walk away, he can't. The name Chancellor has become more than a company, it's a symbol of redemption, an obsession he cannot shake. To Billy, reclaiming Chancellor is not about wealth or power, it's about proving something to himself, to Jill, and maybe even to Delia's memory. He believes that if he can bring Chancellor back into the Abbott fold, he can finally close a chapter of regret that's been eating away at him for years. That belief, however, is precisely what Victor counts on, because when a man acts out of emotion, he becomes predictable, and Victor Newman thrives on predictability. Jack, meanwhile, remains torn between pragmatism and principle. He knows that aligning with Victor means dancing with the devil, but he also understands the stakes. Kane's influence over Jill and his hold on Chancellor Industries have disrupted the delicate balance of power that has defined Genoa City for decades. If Jack can neutralize Kane, perhaps through Victor's resources and information network, he can restore order, or at least the illusion of it. What he fails to see is that Victor never plays on an equal field. Every handshake, every agreement, every promise comes with a trapdoor. And this time, that trapdoor may be hidden beneath the very foundation of the Abbott mansion. Victor's presence has already begun to sow seeds of discord. His calm, calculated demeanor masks the storm he brings. By subtly mentioning Jill's recent meeting with Kane, he forces the Abbotts to question Jill's motives and loyalty. Billy feels the sting of betrayal all over again, wondering if his mother's reconciliation with Kane is part of a deeper plan, or simply another manipulation in her long history of controlling the people around her. Jack, on the other hand, is forced to consider whether Jill's involvement might jeopardize their strategy altogether. The family fractures not from an external blow but from the slow, deliberate pressure that Victor applies with surgical precision. As the tension mounts, the lines between ally and adversary blur. Jack tries to maintain control, urging patience and cooperation, but the undercurrent of mistrust between him and Billy deepens. Billy resents being sidelined, treated like a reckless younger brother who needs to be managed, while Jack struggles to believe that Victor's involvement won't backfire. In the shadows, Victor observes everything, the subtle glances, the rising tempers, the cracks in the Abbott armor, and quietly calculates his next move. To him, every emotional outburst from Billy is data. Every conciliatory gesture from Jack is a potential weakness to exploit. Jill's reemergence in town adds yet another layer to the storm. Her encounter with Kane, while shrouded in secrecy, sends ripples through the already fragile alliance forming between the Abbotts and Newman. Whether her intentions are pure or self-serving remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: wherever Jill goes, power struggles follow. Victor knows this and uses the information to his advantage, framing her actions in a way that deepens Jack and Billy's distrust of each other. For all his charm and charisma, Victor's true talent lies in psychological warfare, turning families into battlegrounds without ever firing a shot. As the days unfold, Billy becomes more determined to expose Victor's duplicity. He begins gathering information, retracing every step that led to the so-called alliance. He remembers every warning sign, every time Jack placed faith in a man who saw trust as weakness. The irony is bitter, that the same brother who has preached integrity is now shaking hands with the man who once tried to destroy their family. Yet Billy's defiance may prove costly. His emotional volatility and need for control make him an easy target, and Victor, ever the strategist, knows how to push him just far enough to make him act without thinking. Behind closed doors, Jack continues to rationalize his decision. He tells himself that sometimes the enemy of your enemy must become your temporary friend. If joining forces with Victor can neutralize Kane's influence and secure Chancellor, perhaps it's worth the risk. But deep down, even Jack knows that history rarely offers second chances with Victor Newman. For every alliance forged, there comes a betrayal waiting in the wings. Still, pride and desperation are powerful motivators, and both men have plenty of each. In the end, the Abbott mansion stands as a symbol of everything this alliance represents: grandeur built on fragile foundations, tradition haunted by ambition, and family unity forever threatened by the ghosts of rivalry. Billy's silent fury, Jack's cautious optimism, and Victor's chilling confidence create a volatile triangle that could either redefine Genoa City's power map or blow it apart entirely. The question isn't whether Victor will betray the Abbotts, it's when, and how devastating the fallout will be. Because in Genoa City, peace is never permanent, alliances are never pure, and the past is never truly buried. For Billy Abbott, the battle to reclaim Chancellor may become the war that finally destroys the family he's trying so hard to save. And for Victor Newman, it's just another day, another game, another victory waiting to be claimed in a world where loyalty is currency and trust is a weapon sharpened for those foolish enough to believe in it. The latest turn of events in The Young and the Restless pulls the tangled web of Abbott, Newman, and Chancellor intrigues even tighter, bringing old grudges and new temptations into focus. Billy Abbott stands once again at the crossroads between loyalty and self-destruction, caught between his unresolved anger toward his family and the manipulative forces that seem to follow him wherever he goes. It has never been easy for Billy to stay on the straight path. His emotions often lead the way long before reason has a chance to intervene. Victor Newman, who has known him for years and studied every one of his impulsive reactions, still calls him by that infamous name, Billy Boy. It's not just a nickname, it's a label that carries the weight of judgment and mockery, a reminder that in Victor's eyes, Billy will always be a reckless man-child incapable of mastering his own demons. To Victor, every failure Billy endures is proof that he can still control the chessboard, even when the Abbotts think they are playing their own game. For Cain Ashby, that same nickname reveals far more than Victor perhaps intended. Cain has learned to listen between the lines, to detect the condescension and power dynamics in every carefully chosen word. When Victor calls Billy Billy Boy, he's not just belittling him, he's reminding everyone in the room who truly holds the upper hand. Cain, who has spent his entire life trying to prove himself to stronger men, first to Jill, then to Devon, and now to the corporate elite of Genoa City, recognizes the pattern. He knows what it means to be underestimated, to have your worth reduced to a smirk or a single cutting phrase. Yet Cain is also smart enough to exploit it. He uses the tension between Billy and Victor, between Billy and Jack, even between Billy and Jill, as raw material for his own quiet manipulations. Cain's greatest strength lies not in confrontation but in infiltration, in finding the cracks others leave behind and widening them just enough to slip through. Jill Abbott, ever the matriarch, watches this spiral unfold with a mixture of heartbreak and resignation. Her relationship with Billy has always been a volatile blend of maternal love and impossible expectations. She wanted him to be strong, decisive, and controlled, but in trying to shape him into something more, she may have broken the fragile balance that made him human. Seeing him now, restless, impulsive, and angry, hurts her in ways she cannot admit aloud. She sees in him the reflection of every mistake she ever made as a mother and a businesswoman. Yet, as fate would have it, her path keeps drawing her closer to Cain. There's something about his wounded dignity, his quiet sense of displacement, that resonates deeply with Jill. She sees in him a younger version of herself, someone who always wanted to belong but never quite found the right family, the right partnership, the right measure of respect. But Cain's bond with Jill is complicated. On one hand, he seems grateful for her guidance and understanding. On the other, he seems to be playing a part, as though he knows exactly how to appeal to Jill's protective instincts. The audience can't help but wonder whether Cain's empathy is sincere or strategic. Is he truly the lost son she's trying to redeem, or is he subtly mirroring her emotions to gain an advantage? Jill's intuition tells her to be cautious, but her heart refuses to listen. Each time she looks at Cain, she sees a second chance to fix what went wrong with Billy, and that very hope blinds her to the possibility that she's being played. Meanwhile, Billy, oblivious to the deeper manipulations surrounding him, is stumbling toward another mistake. Though he would never intentionally help Cain, his temper and impulsive nature might do it for him. During one of his heated confrontations with Jack or even Victor, it's not hard to imagine Billy letting something slip, a fragment of their confidential plans, a hint about their next move in the corporate war over Chancellor Industries. Cain, who has made an art form of reading between words and gathering intelligence through emotional manipulation, wouldn't need much. One misplaced comment, one overheard argument, and he could have all the ammunition he needs to turn the tide. Billy's self-destructive streak has always been his greatest liability, and Victor knows it too well. It's why Victor keeps him close enough to observe, mock, and provoke, because chaos has always served Newman Enterprises better than peace ever could. Victor's patience is unmatched. He thrives on long games, watching his rivals destroy themselves piece by piece while he stands calmly in the background, pulling invisible strings. He understands human weakness better than anyone, and Billy's lack of self-control is practically a gift. The mustache doesn't need to manipulate Billy into betraying anyone, he just needs to light the fuse and wait for Billy's temper to do the rest. For Victor, the game is already won the moment Billy feels cornered, because cornered men always lash out, and lashing out is how secrets are spilled in Genoa City. While these corporate and emotional battles rage, The Young and the Restless prepares another slow-burning storyline that threatens to collide with them in a haunting way. Mariah Copeland's Halloween arc has been brewing beneath the surface for months, pieced together through cryptic flashbacks, fragmented confessions, and unspoken guilt. Viewers have only caught glimpses of what really happened during her business trip for Cassidy First, but those glimpses are enough to unsettle even the most seasoned fans. Mariah's story begins with something deceptively ordinary, a night of loneliness, a glass of wine too many, and the encounter with an older man whose presence stirs something dark within her. Mariah later admits that this man reminded her of Ian Ward, a name that alone sends shivers down the spines of longtime viewers. Ian, the manipulative cult leader who once tormented her and her mother, represents everything Mariah has fought to escape. To find herself in the company of someone who evokes those same emotions is terrifying. It triggers memories she's buried deep, memories of fear, shame, and helplessness. But it also awakens something else, a long-suppressed fury, a need to reclaim control over the narrative of her own life. What happened during that night remains unclear, but the emotional fallout is undeniable. As Halloween approaches, the story takes on a more psychological and eerie tone. Mariah begins to experience flashes of memory that feel more like hallucinations, a face appearing in a mirror, a whisper in a dark hallway, a knock on her hotel door that she can't tell was real or imagined. The show has cleverly left these moments ambiguous, forcing viewers to question whether Mariah is being haunted by an external force or by her own subconscious guilt. The tension builds slowly, and the closer the calendar moves toward October's end, the more her sanity seems to fray. Mariah's emotional unraveling could serve as a mirror to Billy's descent into recklessness. Both characters are struggling with ghosts of the past, both are trying to make sense of choices that keep repeating, and both are caught in cycles they can't seem to break. Billy's recklessness threatens to unravel Jack's alliance with Victor, while Mariah's trauma threatens to expose something long buried, possibly a secret connected to her childhood or to someone she met that night on her trip. The idea that both threads may converge around Halloween, a holiday that symbolizes masks, revelations, and fears made visible, is too deliberate to ignore. There's also a thematic connection between the two stories, the way both explore how people become prisoners of their own impulses. Billy's lack of self-control and Mariah's inability to silence the ghosts of her past are two sides of the same human flaw. The inability to fully escape who we once were. Jill, Kane, and Victor all become external reflections of that inner struggle. Jill, who wants to fix what she broke, Kane, who seeks validation through manipulation, and Victor, who thrives on the chaos others create, they all represent the forces that keep Genoa City spinning in its endless cycle of ambition, betrayal, and regret. As the nights grow longer and the tension mounts, fans can expect the Halloween episodes to deliver not just horror but revelation. Mariah's mysterious encounter may not have been as random as it seemed, and whispers from the production team suggest that the older man she met might be connected to someone powerful, perhaps even a figure from Victor's shadowy network or one of the Chancellor affiliates. If so, her trauma could intertwine with the business and family conflicts already tearing through the city, pulling characters from separate worlds into a shared reckoning. By the time the Abbott mansion's lights flicker against the October wind, and Chancellor Industries faces yet another shakeup, both Billy and Mariah may find themselves staring into mirrors they no longer recognize. For Billy, the reflection will show a man who once wanted to do good but keeps sabotaging himself through anger and pride. For Mariah, it will be a woman haunted by what she saw, or did, during that fateful night. And for Victor, it will be yet another reminder that chaos, when properly orchestrated, is the most profitable weapon of all. In the end, The Young and the Restless thrives on this kind of storytelling, slow, psychological, layered with motives that twist and overlap until no one can tell hero from villain. Billy Abbott won't mean to help Kane Ashby, but he might hand him the keys to victory without even realizing it. Jill will believe she's healing the rift in her family, only to find herself emotionally entangled with a man who knows exactly how to use her guilt. Victor will once again prove that the real power in Genoa City belongs to those who understand weakness, not those who fight it. And as Halloween approaches, Mariah Copeland's haunting descent into the past will remind everyone that in this town, the scariest monsters aren't ghosts, they're memories we thought we'd buried for good.